Good morning, Fort Worth. It's Kyle Denmark with Denmark Lawn. I just wanted to use this Monday morning to make a video to show you guys what goes into onboarding an employee at our company and some of the training that we put those employees through to ensure that your property is serviced with a high quality standard. I know a lot of people don't understand what goes into running a business or doing this professionally as opposed to just cutting your own yard. So we just wanted to give you some insight into what our employees experience from the company and what it takes for us to get well-trained, qualified individuals to your house to service your property. So first, what I'm going to do is kind of show you what we do as part of the onboarding process and the checklist that we use to ensure that things are done properly. And then I'm going to show you guys a little bit of training that we take each employee through before they ever show up to your property. As you can see here, I've got some uniforms. Any employee that is employed at our company is given a set of uniforms and a cap so that they're easily identifiable on the property. And we picked this chartreuse yellow to ensure that people are safe while they're on your property and in the neighborhoods that we serve. Also, we've got an orientation checklist here that just ensures that the employees that we hire are legitimate employees, and so they're all American citizens. They all have legitimate social security numbers. We ensure that we put them on payroll. We don't pay cash or 1099 anyone. We also make sure that we go through this field service training and what's expected with each service offering to ensure that your property always looks the best, and we try to be the best in the industry and the best in our service area. And so it requires some checks and balances, and it requires some standard operating procedures in order to achieve good results with that. One of the other things we use that a lot of companies don't is a landscape maintenance policies and procedures system. And what this does is it outlines specific items regarding servicing your property and different skills and how to do them appropriately. So there's a new employee training area, and then there's also specific practices on how you should mow, proper mow height for our mow settings, how to make 2 passes around the area that you're mowing to ensure that you can turn and not get in the way of the person that's using the weed eater, watching for objects that might be sticking up above the grade of the grass and watching out for sprinkler heads. And then it goes all the way through edging. The next chapter would be weed eating, but we actually have 4 levels of employees here at Denmark Lawn. We have new employees, we have gardeners, we have advanced gardeners, and we have foremen. And so as you continue to go through the ranks, you get these different certifications, and then you also are rewarded with more pay as you move through the ranks for the company. And so this is an example of a regular residential property that we would serve, and I just wanted to quickly go through what we train our guys to do to ensure that things are handled appropriately and that they don't get in the way of each other while they're servicing the property and that nothing gets missed on the property. And so I'll go through what the foreman does with the weed eater and the stick edger. I'll go through what the helper does with the lawnmower, and then we'll talk about blowing off the property and cleanup, which is probably the most important part of the service in order to ensure that it looks good. And so for the mowers, the lawnmowers generally go to the backyard first. So they start in the backyard here. They make 2 laps around the outside perimeter. And the purpose of these laps is to ensure that by the time the weed eater guy gets back here, that they're not in each other's way. And so the mower goes to the back and he begins mowing the backyard. Simultaneously, while the mower is in the backyard, the person with the stick edger starts in the front yard. They always start on the right side of the property, which I think is actually going to be your left in the video because everything's backwards. But they'll start here, and the reason that we start here is because if you start on the right side of the property, you'll never have to overlap. And so the idea is that you go down the curb, down the sidewalk, down the other side of the sidewalk, up the driveway, down the sidewalk, and then finish on the other side, never having to double step the property. And so that's the most efficient way that we found at Denmark Lawn to handle the stick edging portion of the service. And the entire time the mower's never getting in the way because usually he's in the backyard. Once the stick edging is done, the foreman will put the stick edger back and he will go to the backyard just inside the gate and start weed eating around the edge of the property. As the person weed eating gets to the backyard, the mower is usually coming to the front yard and doing the same thing around the front yard, going around the perimeter twice to make room for the weed eater as he comes. So he'll start mowing this area, and then he'll move over to this area, and then eventually come to these areas that are between the curb and the sidewalk. And so they're kind of staying out of each other's way as they move through the property to ensure that they don't impede each other or cause any interruption in the service. And so in order to make sure that we don't miss anything with the person that's weed eating in the back, if they come across an obstacle or a tree in the middle of the yard, they're instructed to stop on their exterior perimeter, go around the obstacle in the yard, and then go back to their spot before they continue through the rest of the weed eating, to ensure that things like playground equipment, lawn furniture, and trees don't get missed during the weed eating process. Once they finish the backyard, they'll move to the front, continue around the perimeter of the house, ensure that they get everything on the opposite side of the house. And then a big responsibility for the person weed eating is often we have to smooth out the edges on lawns where the grass is above the level of the concrete. These tend to be problem areas with the people mowing because they have to pick up the decks to avoid the curbs. And so this person weed eating will make sure that these two spots are taken care of. They'll also make sure that there's no little hairs that need to be taken care of near the curb or inside the lawn. Any weeds that are sticking up in the concrete, they'll make sure to weed eat down or use Roundup spray containers that we use on the truck to ensure that those are taken care of. And then as that person is finishing weed eating, the person that's mowing puts the mower back up in the truck. He is instructed to take that mower to the back patio and blow off the back patio first. Come back around the front to blow off the front patio. We always work our way from the front of the house down. They're instructed to point the blower at the front door and let the debris blow off the patio. Same thing in front of the garage. Point the blower toward the garage so that you don't blow material under the garage, and then blow everything off the driveway, the sidewalks, and the curbs. And then the last check is to ensure that there's no debris under the truck or under the ramp. And so they'll blow all that stuff off to make sure the property is taken care of. And then it's the foreman's responsibility to make sure that this gate ultimately gets shut so that nobody's pets are put in danger or people are allowed to enter the property that aren't supposed to be there. So that gives you a little bit of perspective into what all's required in order for us to get a property serviced the way that it's supposed to get serviced. The other things that we do to ensure that we don't have any problems getting things done is we have a backup piece of equipment on the truck for all the equipment. So usually we have 3 mowers, 2 weed eaters, a stick edger, and 2 backpack blowers. We also have backup equipment at the shop, and Ed is our client care advocate. So in the event that a piece of equipment does go down out in the field, Ed is responsible for grabbing a piece of backup equipment out of the shop and getting it to those guys to ensure that our work is finished. So if you have any questions about that, or you're just curious about how we handle maybe landscape maintenance, which is a completely different side of the business, that's more bushes and beds, mulch, seasonal color, things like that, I'd be happy to share that stuff too. But I just wanted to give you guys some insight into what it takes to get a property serviced the way that we think it's appropriate. And you know, we're open to suggestions on anything that anybody has to offer that might be an improvement to this system. So thanks for listening. And I just want to say to everybody that I know we're in a time right now that nobody's familiar with. Denmark Lawn is here to help if you need us. We are offering service at no cost for anybody who's been laid off from their jobs that's inside of our service area. So if you know somebody that's in need, feel free to have them reach out to us at denmarklawn.com, or they can call 817-484-8522, and we'd be happy to step in and help while we can afford to. Obviously that's a risky proposition for a small business, but you know, sometimes it's not all about the money. So we look forward to talking to you soon, and we thank you for watching our video.